Soul-destroying.
Soul-destroying.
A soul-destroying experience.
Soul food.
Soul food.
Soulful.
Soulful.
He looked up with those great soulful eyes.
His powerful, soulful voice.
Soul jazz. Soul jazz.
Soulless.
Soulless.
A soulless city of grey concrete.
Soulmate.
Soulmate.
Soulmate. Soul music.
Soul music.
Soul patch.
Soul patch.
Soul-searching.
Soul-searching.
After much soul-searching, I decided to resign.
Sound.
Sound.
There were strange sounds coming from the next room. She could hear the sound of voices.
A vowel sound.
We apologize for the loss of sound during that report.
A sound engineer.
Turn the sound down a little, will you?
We're trying to develop a harder, funkier sound.
By the sound of it, things are worse than we thought. There's been a slight change in our plans. I don't like the sound of that.
I need to buy some new sounds. Istanbul sounds really exciting. The whole story sounded very odd.
$80 sounds about right for a decent hotel room.
That sounds a good idea.
Nick sounds like a nice guy.
It sounds to me as if he needs professional help.
It sounds like you had a good time on your trip.
I'll come over to Richmond and take you out for dinner. How does that sound? Faraway places with strange-sounding names. To Thomas, her laugh sounded horribly like a growl.
I heard what sounded like fireworks. Her breathing sounded very loud. The banging sounded as if it was coming from next door. It sounds like the dog wants to be let out.
Are you okay? You sound tired.
Josie didn't sound very keen when I spoke to her.
Her voice sounded very young. You sound as if you've got a cold. She sounded like she'd been crying. You sound just like my mother.
Several earlier studies had sounded similar warnings.
I would, however, sound a note of caution.
Now it is an American economist who is sounding the alarm.
The bell sounded for dinner.
Sound your horn to warn other drivers.
She was unable to sound the alarm.
The S in island is not sounded.
She's always sounding off about too much sex in the media.
He should check his facts before sounding off.
He sounded people out and found the responses favourable.
They want to sound out his opinion before they approach him formally.
I wanted to sound her out about a job that I'm thinking of applying for.
The book is full of sound advice.
A man of great integrity and sound judgment.
Environmentally sound farming practices.
A sound investment.
He's very sound on matters of law.
My mum's sound. She'd never throw me out.
A sound understanding of money and banking systems.
A sound knowledge of English.
He has a sound grasp of European history.
The floor was completely sound.
Is the building structurally sound?
The baby was sound asleep.
Soundbar.
Soundbar.
Soundbite.
Soundbite.
Sound barrier.
Sound barrier.
Sound card.
Sound card.
Sound check.
Sound check.
Sound effects.
Sound effects.
Sounding board.
Sounding board.
John always used her as a sounding board for new ideas.
Soundings.
Soundings.
We're taking soundings to find out how people feel about the changes.
Soundless.
Soundless.
Theo crept soundlessly into the room.
Soundly.
Soundly.
The baby slept soundly all night.
The Republicans were soundly defeated.
Soundproof.
Soundproof.
Soundsmith.
Soundsmith.
The ever-innovating soundsmiths known as Matmos.
Soundstage.
Soundstage.
Sound system.
Sound system.
Soundtrack.
Soundtrack.
The soundtrack to Top Gun.
Soundwave.
Soundwave.
Soup.
Soup.
Homemade tomato soup.
Soupçon.
Soupçon.
Souped up.
Souped up.
Soup kitchen.
Soup kitchen.
Soup spoon.
Soup spoon.
Soupy.
Soupy.
Sour.
Sour.
Rachel sampled the wine. It was sour.
Sour cherries. Eliza was tall and thin, with a rather sour face.
A sour-faced old man.
As time went by, their marriage turned sour.
The meeting ended on a sour note, with neither side able to reach agreement.
As time went by, their marriage turned sour.
The meeting ended on a sour note, with neither side able to reach agreement.
An unhappy childhood has soured her view of life.
Source.
Source.
They get their money from various sources. Beans are a very good source of protein. For me, music is a great source of enjoyment.
Is your pension taxed at source?
We found the source of the trouble.
The recent name change has been the source of some confusion.
List all your sources at the end of your essay.
I've heard from reliable sources that the company's in trouble.
Fish for the restaurant is sourced daily from British ports.
Locally sourced milk.
We might be able to source the parts.
Source code.
Source code.
Sour cream.
Sour cream.
Sourdough.
Sourdough.
Sourpuss.
Sourpuss.
South.
South.
Which way is south?
By now the army was approaching from the south.
Gatwick Airport is a few miles to the south of London.
They lived in a small town in the south.
The south of India.
A village on the south coast.
I'm currently teaching in South Texas.
Most of the birds had already flown south.
A seaside town 99 kilometres south of London.
A south-facing garden.
We moved down south about 5 years ago.
His sister lives down south.
It seems like all our moral standards have just gone south. Southbound.
Southbound.
Southbound traffic.
The southbound lanes are closed.
The car was last seen travelling southbound on I-35.
Southeast.
Southeast.
We continued southeast to Kells.
The southeast quarter of the city.
Southeaster.
Southeaster.
Southeastern.
Southeastern.
Southeastern Europe.
Southeasterly.
Southeasterly.
Snow will spread to southeasterly regions tonight. Southerly.
Southerly.
Tara walked in a southerly direction.
Southern.
Southern.
A southern accent.
Southern Italy.
Southern Belle.
Southern Belle. Southerner.
Southerner.
Southern Hemisphere.
Southern Hemisphere.
Southern lights.
Southern Lights.
Southernmost.
Southernmost.
The southernmost tip of India.
Southpaw.
Southpaw.
South Pole.
South Pole.
Southwards.
Southwards.
We followed the coast southwards.
The southward route to Charlestown.
Southwest.
Southwest.
The plane flew southwest toward Egypt.
The southwest corner of France.
Southwestern.
Southwestern.
Southwestern Colorado.
Southwesterly.
Southwesterly.
The plane was flying in a southwesterly direction.
Southwestward.
Southwestward.
Souvenir.
Souvenir.
I bought a model of the Eiffel Tower as a souvenir of Paris.
A souvenir shop.
A souvenir programme from the gala concert.
Sou'wester.
Sou'wester.
Sovereign.
Sovereign.
Sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
The sovereignty of Parliament.
Spain's claim of sovereignty over the territory.
The defence of our national sovereignty.
Soviet.
Soviet.
Sow.
Sow.
Sow the seeds in late March.
These fields used to be sown with oats.
Repressive laws that are sowing the seeds of future conflicts.
An attempt to sow doubt among the jury members.
Sown.
Sown.
Socks.
Socks.
Soya.
Soya.
Soya bean.
Soya bean.
Soy sauce.
Soy sauce.
Sozzled.
Sozzled.
Spa.
Spa.
A historic spa town.
Space.
Space.
There's space for a table and 2 chairs.
How much space is there on each disc?
Now that we've got 3 kids, it'd be nice to have a bit more space.
He had plenty of space to study.
The hedge takes up too much space.
In small homes, a single colour scheme can create a sense of space.
A supermarket with 700 free parking spaces.
We really do need more storage space.
The factory's floor space.
The space between the house and the garage.
There was an empty space where the flowers had been.
Who was the first American in space?
Creatures from outer space.
The history of space travel.
The exact point in space where 2 lines meet.
How people of other cultures think about time and space.
Mandy had 4 children in the space of 4 years.
They achieved a lot in a short space of time.
A pleasant town centre with plenty of open space.
The wide open spaces of the prairies.
The loss of green space in cities.
We give each other space in our marriage.
She needed time and space to sort out her life.
Leave a space after each number.
The word the takes up 3 spaces.
Please write any comments in the space provided.
The story got very little space in the national newspapers. They used 3 microphones spaced several yards apart. They used 3 microphones spaced several yards apart.
Try to space out your classes and study in between. For security, use 3 evenly spaced bolts per post.
I completely spaced out during the lecture.
Space age.
Space age.
Space age technology.
Space bar.
Space bar.
Space cadet.
Space cadet.
Space capsule.
Space capsule.
Spacecraft.
Spacecraft.
Spaced out.
Spaced out.
Space probe.
Space probe.
Spaceman.
Spaceman.
Spaceship.
Spaceship.
Space shuttle.
Space shuttle.
Space station.
Space station.
Spacesuit.
Spacesuit.
Space tourist. Space tourist.
Spacewalk.
Spacewalk.
Spacey.
Spacey.
I felt tired and kind of spacey.
Spacing.
Spacing.
Spacious.
Spacious.
A spacious living area.
Spade.
Spade.
The Queen of Spades. Beauty, intelligence, wealth. My mother had all of them in spades. Spadework.
Spadework.
Most of the spade work had been done by 1981.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti junction.
Spaghetti junction.
Spaghetti western.
Spaghetti western.
Spake.
Spake.
Spam.
Spam.
You can filter out spam with special software.
Spam blocking. Spam blocking. Spamdexing. Spamdexing.
Span.
Span.
Over a span of 10 years, the company has made great progress.
It'll be difficult to hire that many new staff in such a short time span.
Most 2-year-olds have a very short attention span.
Captivity vastly reduces the lifespan of whales.
A bird with a large wingspan.
A career which spanned nearly 60 years.
The Mongol Empire spanned much of Central Asia.
Spandex.
Spandex.
Spangle.
Spangle.
The city skyline was spangled with lights.
Acrobats in spangled tights.
Spanglish.
Spanglish.
Spaniard.
Spaniard.
Spaniel.
Spaniel.
Spanish.
Spanish.
Spank.
Spank.
A spank on the bottom.
Spanking.
Spanking.
If you don't stop that noise, you'll get a spanking.
A spanking new shopping centre.
They started walking at a spanking rate.
Spanner.
Spanner.
Spar.
Spar.
He broke his nose while sparring with Vega.
Senators are sparring over the health bill.
He's been sparring with the security guards.
Spare.
Spare.
A spare key.
Bring a towel and some spare clothes.
A supply of spare batteries.
A spare tyre.
Have you got any spare boxes?
You could sleep in the spare bedroom. Do you have any spare cash? I'll go and see if there are any spare seats.
A decline in beer sales had left the industry with spare capacity. What do you do in your spare time?
Eric spent every spare moment he had in the library.
There are beggars on every corner asking for spare change.
I'll have some of that cake if it's going spare. Dad would go spare if he found out.
Sorry, I can't spare the time.
I'd like you to come over when you can spare a couple of hours.
Can you spare £5?
We're too busy to spare anyone to help you right now.
Could you possibly spare me a few moments in private?
It's very kind of you to spare me so much of your time. Anyone who has time to spare and would like to help can contact Moira.
They got to the airport with seconds to spare.
They still have some money to spare.
I wanted to spare them the trouble of buying me a present.
Thankfully, she had been spared the ordeal of surgery.
I could not understand why I had been spared and they had not.
The soldier who had spared his life.
Today we will hear whether the school is to be spared from closure.
Spare a thought for Nick, who's doing his exams right now.
No expense was spared in developing the necessary technology. No effort will be spared to bring the people responsible to justice. He spared us the details, saying only that he had been injured in the war.
They own 3 houses, one in the country, one in... Spare me.
Just tell me the truth. Don't worry about sparing my feelings.
Before leaving the old town, spare another glance at the tower. A bored waitress who scarcely spared them a glance.
Spare.
If you forget the key, Mrs. Jones over the road has a spare.
The batteries are dead. Have you got any spares?
A shortage of aircraft spares.
Spare part.
Spare part.
Spare rib.
Spare rib. Spare room.
Spare room.
Spare tyre.
Spare tire.
Sparingly.
Sparingly.
Use the spices sparingly.
We must be sparing with our resources.
Spark.
Spark.
Sparks from the fire.
The scrape of metal on metal sent up a shower of sparks.
Electric sparks from a broken wire.
Rachel looked at her and felt a spark of hope.
The judge's verdict provided the spark for the riots.
Interest rate cuts were the spark the market needed.
Tired and lacked her usual spark.
McKellen's performance gives the play its spark of life.
The sparks were really flying at the meeting. The police response sparked outrage in the community.
A discarded cigarette sparked a small brush fire.
Topics that spark children's imaginations.
Sparking plug.
Sparking plug.
Sparkle.
Sparkle.
The sea sparkled in the sun.
The crystal chandelier sparkled.
Ron's eyes sparkled with excitement.
The sparkle of the diamonds. The sparkle and zest of a live performance.
There was a sparkle of fun in her brown eyes.
Sparkler.
Sparkler.
Sparkling.
Sparkling.
A sparkling blue lake.
A sparkling white beach.
A sparkling clean kitchen.
A glass of sparkling wine.
Claire's sparkling personality.
Spark plug.
Spark plug.
Sparky.
Sparky.
Why would a sparky girl like Nicola want to marry him?
Sparring partner. Sparring partner.
Sparrow.
Sparrow.
Sparse.
Sparse.
His sparse brown hair.
Rural areas with sparse populations.
A sparsely populated area.
Sparta.
Sparta. Spartan.
Spartan accommodation.
A Spartan existence.
Spasm.
Spasm.
Maggie felt a muscle spasm in her back.
Tom's jaw muscles had gone into spasm. I felt a spasm of fear.
Spasmodic.
Spasmodic.
Spasmodic machine gun fire.
A spasmodic cough.
Spastic.
Spastic.